Welcome to the second part of our look at the origins of Christianity. It features material from pocm.info. There were many conflicting groups of Christians and conflicting ideas about Christ during the first 300 years of Christianity. Many arguments centered around who Christ was. In fact, it was only in 325 AD that it was decided that Jesus was divine, in other words, God. After a vote by a committee, it was decided there that Jesus was part of the Trinity. He was God's Son. So it wasn't until 325 AD that the idea of the Trinity became fixed. Interestingly, we suddenly find that in manuscripts written after this date, 2 new verses are added to the letter of John. 1 John 5, "For there are 3 that bear record in heaven, the Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost, and these 3 are one. And there are 3 that bear witness in earth, the Spirit, and the water, and the blood, and these 3 agree in one." And of course, these new verses are supportive of the Trinity concept. How did the Christian version come to be the only one we know about? Here's how. The only version of Christian origins that survived was the version written by the victorious Roman Christians. As an example, here's the story of the young, intelligent and beautiful Hypatia. The place, Alexandria, Egypt. The time, 415 AD. Cyril, Christian Patriarch of Alexandria, became enraged over a point of doctrine about the true nature of Christ. He incited a riot against people who denied his own theory. Cyril's Christian supporters asserted their faith by burning the homes of doctrinal opponents and driving entire communities from the city. One fateful day, Hypatia, the non-Christian scholar, philosopher and teacher, renowned throughout the Mediterranean world for her devotion to learning and enlightenment, steps onto her chariot to ride through town to the great library of Alexandria. A mob gathers, chanting slogans against her. The rioters close in, jamming Hypatia's chariot to a stop, grabbing her, jerking her down and out into the street, where eager hands strip the woman naked. Jeering, they drag her to a church where Christian officials promptly butcher her. Gibbon, in his famous work Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, describes the event as follows. Her flesh was scraped from her bones with sharp oyster shells, and her quivering limbs were delivered to the flames. So why mention the murder of Hypatia? Because her story helps answer the question you're already thinking. If Christianity had pagan origins, why have I never heard about it? History is written by the winners. You've never heard about the pagan origins of Christianity because when Christians institutionalized the church, starting in the 300s AD, their reaction to pagan competition was to deny and suppress pagan teaching, to burn pagan writings, to drive dissident communities into the desert, and to murder pagan scholars. History is written by the victors. In the bottom photo here we see Lenin surrounded by a crowd of supporters. In the crowd is Trotsky. A couple of years later, Trotsky had become persona non grata. He was murdered. And in the top photo, the altered, doctored version, we see that Trotsky and 3 of his supporters have been removed, disappeared by the communist regime. The regulation history of Christian origins was written by a Roman Catholic bishop. After the Roman Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity in 312 AD, he had his friend Eusebius write a history of early post-gospel Christianity. Eusebius wasn't just the emperor's friend, he was also the bishop of Caesarea, a Christian. So our oldest history of Christian origins, Eusebius's ecclesiastical history, was written by Christians, for Christians. It gives the Christian side of the story. How about other Christian versions of Christian origins? They were suppressed, usually brutally. One reason our received version of the origin story sounds plausible is there isn't any other version to compare it to. And there was no pagan side of the Christian origin story either. Even into the 2nd and 3rd centuries, Christianity didn't make much of an impression on the Romans and Greeks. No pagan knew or cared enough about the tiny new sect to write a history of it. There is no contemporary pagan side of the Christian origin story. There were later pagan accounts. Celsus wrote one in the 2nd century. Porphyry of Tyre wrote 15 books against Christianity in the 3rd. These were unfavourable commentaries, and hence they were banned and burned by Christians, and survive only in fragments. You know the Christian version of the history because paganism was lost in the bonfires of suppression. The censorship worked well, so well that pagan is now a pejorative word. The bottom line is that, Christian or not, you've probably only heard the Christian side of the story. Before the Dark Ages, when Christianity ruled Europe, there were civilizations which flowered, bringing stability and prosperity. We call the people who lived then the ancients, and they were not primitive simpletons. Here's a residential apartment building in Rome. The ancients had literature, drama, art, engineering, architecture, mathematics, politics, and philosophy. Differences do matter, and here comes the big differences between us and the ancients, between our ideas and their ideas, that you absolutely must know if you hope to understand earliest Christianity. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. You and I know things happen on account of the laws of nature. Things move. The sun crosses the sky in accordance with the laws of physics. Fire burns because of the laws of chemistry. Plants grow according to their DNA. Even if we're not sure exactly what the laws of nature are, we are sure there are laws of nature, and that the things that happen are caused by them. In our world, every effect, everything that happens, has a mechanical, impersonal cause. The ancients' world didn't work like that. It couldn't work like that, what with them not having the maths or the measurements that led people to discover laws of nature. What they did have, like us, was the instinct to link cause with effect, and effect with cause. Something moved, then something must have moved it. Something or someone. This is the big difference between their view of how the world works and ours. Not having impersonal mechanical laws of nature to explain cause and effect, the ancients invented invisible, intelligent personalities to cause the sun to move, a fire to burn, and plants to grow as they did. They invented the gods. In fact, they invented a whole array of god beings, great gods, demigods, God's messengers, demons, spirits, sprites, souls, ghosts of the dead, all causing the events people saw in day-to-day life. The ancients thought that when you threw a spear, it was pushed along through the air by a god. If it weren't for the god, the spear would fall to the ground immediately. It's not just that Christianity and paganism share ideas. Their shared ideas, miracles, prophecies, demons, virgin births, angels, magic dreams, even God and heaven, all fit the ancients' primitive God-being-centered understanding of how the world worked. In the next part, we'll look at the ancient mystery religions. Take a deep breath. Your ideas about God and religion are about to change forever.